Okay. Today we are going to discuss about unit and dimensions questions today, especially regarding dimensional analysis. Okay. In previous class we have discussed about 6 rules relevant to the dimensional analysis. Now I'm going to recap the rules today because we need those rules to analyze these questions today. Can you tell me those rules? First one. The first rule. If you need to write this thing, you can write them. Okay. What is the first rule? What was the first rule? So if we consider about an equation today, you know an equation. Generally, an equation consists of several terms. Okay. You know how to identify term. Term can be identified using plus or minus mark. No, as we discussed earlier, two terms are separated using plus or minus mark. It is something like this: ax over b plus cb is equal PQ minus ZR over T. It is something like this. Now you know these two are separated using this plus mark. No? Therefore, we can consider this one as a term. This one as another term. And these two are separated using this minus mark. Therefore, these two are two terms. These two are two terms. Therefore, we call this one is a term. Therefore, this is term 1, term 2, term 3, term 4. Okay, you know, actually, two terms are separated by either addition or subtraction mark with it. And then we know that thing. Addition or subtraction can be done among two equal physical quantities. That means we cannot add kilometer to time pute. No, kilometer means it is a length. We cannot add a length to a time. That is meaningless, no? Similarly, we cannot add a volume to mass, no? Therefore, we can add volume to volume, and we can add kilogram to kilogram. We can add same physical quantities. We can subtract same physical quantities, but we cannot add or subtract two different physical quantities. Okay, is that clear? We cannot add or subtract two different physical quantities. Therefore, if there's addition or subtraction, the dimension of those physical quantities should be equal. That is rule number 1. Okay. What is the rule number 1? If there's an addition or subtraction between two physical quantities, their dimension should be equal. Because addition or subtraction can be done among two same or two equal physical quantities. Okay. If you need to note down that thing, you can note down that thing. Okay. The first rule is addition or subtraction can be done among two equal physical quantities. Therefore, if there's an addition or subtraction Therefore, if there's addition or subtraction, between two physical quantities, their dimensions should be equal. Their dimension should be equal. That means, you know, now there's addition between these two physical quantities. Therefore, dimension of AX over B should be equal dimension of CD. Dimension of CD. Another thing, we can write, now there's a subtraction between these two physical quantities. Then I can write dimension of PQ should be equal dimension of ZR over D. That is the first rule. Second rule. The second rule is a derivation of the first rule. Derivation of the first rule. You know, now addition or subtraction can be done among two same physical quantities. Therefore, if we consider about an equation, two terms are separated by addition or subtraction. Two terms are separated by addition or subtraction. Therefore, all the terms in an equation should have same dimensions with it. All the terms in an equation should have same dimension, because addition or subtraction can be done among two same physical quantities. Based on that argument, we can derive another very special rule, Pute, that is, all the terms in an equation should have same dimension, Pute. Therefore, we don't want to separate these two. All of them are equal. Therefore, the second rule is all the terms in an equation should have same dimension. You need to understand these rules very well. Otherwise, you cannot do dimensional analysis. And then, so based on this argument, we can write this one. Dimension of term 1 should be equal to dimension of term 2, and that should be equal to dimension of term 3, and it should be equal to dimension of term 4. Is that clear? Then, make it argument.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. This is the first two rules put there. Then the third one. As we discussed earlier, in our last session, we have discussed about power or index. As we discussed earlier, it is very clear an index means it is a number. It is a number. Okay. A number doesn't has no dimension put it. Therefore, if there's an index put it, if there's an index, that the entire index should not have a dimension. Okay, that means it is something like this. Suppose a to the power bx plus t. Now bx plus t is an expression, but it is in an index put it. This is an index put it. Therefore, you know the entire term should be a number. The entire term should be a number. And therefore, if there's an index is a number. Index is a number. Therefore, index has no dimension. No dimension. Therefore, mathematically, no dimension can be written as 1. 1. Therefore, dimension of Bx, dimension of the index. Here the index is Bx plus 19. 1. 1 means it doesn't have dimension. And therefore, 1 means no dimension. So normally we can write it as write it in word puthe, but when you are doing calculation, you can use 1 instead of no dimension. No dimension. Therefore, the third rule is, as the index is a number, it has no dimension. As the index is a number, it has no dimension. Then the fourth term. Index එකත් එක්කම ඊළඟට එන අපිට ඊළඟ කතන්දරේ මොකද්ද? The logarithm functions. So if we consider about logarithm functions, suppose this is log p q plus dz over p. So if there's a logarithm function, inside this logarithm function, this expression should be a number. This expression should be a number because this is the index. This expression should be a number. This is the value of index. And therefore, this expression should be a number. This expression should be a number. Therefore, if you consider about the logarithm function, the expression inside a logarithm function is a number. Therefore, it doesn't have a dimension. No, it has no dimension. So we can say dimension of PQ plus Z, dimension of PQ plus ZT. Sorry. Recent order. One means it has no dimension. Therefore, we can use this rule when there's a logarithm function. And this is the fourth rule. The fourth rule. When there's a logarithm function, the inside expression. When there's a logarithm function, the inside expression is a number. Therefore, it has no dimension. This is rule number 4. Then the rule number 6. You know how to define angles in using radians. But according to the definition of radian, radian is defined according to the arc length. Arc length. Okay? So 1 radian is equal to the angle subtended by an arc which has a length equal to the radius of that particular circle. Okay. Therefore, according to that definition, we have derived one equation, that is S equal R theta. No? S equal r theta. Therefore, S means arc length, R means radius, theta means angle. Angle. So if you subject theta, theta is equal S over R. S over R. So it is very clear, Pute. S means it is the arc length. R means it is a radius. It is a radius. Radius also a length. Therefore, this ratio is a ratio between two lengths. Pute. This is a length. This is also a length. Therefore, if you take the dimension of angle is equal L over L. Therefore, finally, the answer is what? Dimension of angle is equal dimension of S over dimension of R. Dimension of S means that is a length. Therefore, it is L. This one also L. L to L will be cancelled out. Therefore, answer is 1. That means an angle has no dimension. An angle has no dimension. That is the fifth rule. An angle has no dimension. Fifth rule. The last final is trigonometric function. You know, if we consider a trigonometric function, the inside the trigonometric function, there should be an angle. Okay? If you consider sine 30, sine 45, or cos 60. Therefore, if you consider any trigonometric function, the inside expression should be an angle. It should be an angle. Therefore, this expression should be an angle. As we discussed earlier, angles has no dimension. Therefore, if we consider about trigonometric function, the inside expression does not have a dimension. Therefore, if you consider what sine ax plus b or something, so this is the expression. Therefore, this is an angle. This part is an angle. Ax plus b is ax plus b is an angle. This is an angle. As it is an angle, the entire expression should not have a dimension. Therefore, the entire expression ax plus b, it doesn't have a dimension. That is rule number 6. And there's another rule. Actually, that is a derivation of the 6th rule. Therefore, we can mention it as a separate rule. 7th one. If we consider about trigonometric function, trigonometric ratio, sine theta or cos theta or tan theta or anything, a trigonometric ratio means it is a ratio between two lengths. No, okay? Sine theta means it is opposite side over hypotenuse. Cos theta means adjacent side over hypotenuse. Tan theta means adjacent side over opposite side. Therefore, if we consider any trigonometric function or ratio, the entire ratio is a ratio between two lengths. Therefore, if we consider any trigonometric function, the entire function does not have, or it has no dimension because a trigonometric function means it is a ratio between two lengths, two L's. So if you consider about dimension, L to L will be cancelled out with it. Therefore, trigonometric functions sin theta or cos theta or tan theta, anything, they do not have dimensions. They do not have dimension because the ratio between them, trigonometric ratio means it is a ratio between two lengths. So here we can use that one also. Here we can use that one also in my logarithm function. The entire logarithm function is a index with it. This part is indexed with it. Therefore, the entire logarithm function means it is a number. Therefore, if you consider about the dimension of the entire logarithm function, that means log PQ plus DZ over T. So if you consider about the entire dimension, that also equal to 1. Because this part is a number. This part is a number. Because we have discussed that thing. So those are the rules. Actually, we can actually there are only 6 rules put there. But if we consider about these two are separate rules, then there will be 8. And there will be 8. But simply we can say there are 6 rules. But 8 applications in dimension analysis. So you have to have very good understanding about those 8 applications when you are solving dimensional analysis questions. And do you have any problem with those applications or rules put it?
No, sir.
If you need to write them or if you need to take a screenshot, now you can take it. මේ rules අට අනිවාර්ය rules අරගෙන rules 6ක් තියෙනවා. ඊළඟට derivations දෙකත් එක්ක තව 8ක් එතකොට ගන්න පුළුවන්. ඒව ඔළුවේ තියෙන්න ඕනේ.
Okay, sir.
Yo. Okay, now we can go for the questions. Now I'm going to do the essay questions. Question number 3. Determination of dimension of an unknown physical quantity in an equation. Okay. So there are some given physical quantities put there. In that physical quantities, you have to correct one thing. That is P. Capital P is given as time put there. It is not time, it should be pressure. It should be pressure. Okay. It is not time. Then, okay. The first one, you are given F equal MVZ. F equal MVZ, first thing. MVZ. And F is a force, M is a mass. You have to determine the dimension of Z. You have to determine the dimension of Z. When you are determining the dimension of Z, what will be the rule you are going to use? What will be the argument? You can determine this thing very easily. I need the argument. What would be the argument? Now there are 8 arguments. So among those 8 arguments, what would be the most appropriate argument? Now you have to determine the dimension of Z. How to determine the dimension of Z?
F over M.
Sorry? No, Harry. That is your answer, but I don't want to give the answer. මට ඕනි ඔයා මේ වගේ ක්වෙස්චන් එක තව පාර වෙන විදිහකින් දුන්නොත් කොහොමද කරන්න කියලා අන්ඩර්ස්ටෑන්ඩ් එකක් තියෙද කියලා බලන්න විතරයි. පැහැදිලිද? මොකද මේක අපිට හදන්න ටක් ගන්න නිකන් මේක මෙහෙම වෙන්නේ නැති කියලා හදන්න පුළුවන්. ක්වෙස්චන් එක දුන්නාට පස්සේ අපිට හිතෙනවානේ මේක මේ වගේ සබ්ජෙක්ට් කරුවා ගත්තොත් හරියයි. දැන් මට ඉසේ සබ්ජෙක්ට් කරන්න පුළුවන් ඉසේ සබ්ජෙක්ට් කරලා ගත්තොත් මේක හරියයි කියලා හිතෙන්න පුළුවන්. පුතේ ඉසේ සබ්ජෙක්ට් කරලා ගත්තොත් හරි ප්‍රශ්න නැහැ හරි. But there should be an argument. There should be an argument. According to the argument, you have to do the analysis part. හොඳට මතක තියාගන්න මම කියන දේ. අර ගොඩක් වෙලාවට ළමයි ෆිසික්ස් කියන දේ පටලවා ගන්න මෙන්න මෙතන. මම කියන තේරුම් ගන්න ෆිසික්ස් කියන දේ පටලවා ගන්න මෙන්න මෙතනින් පුතේ. මොකද්ද? ළමයි හැම වෙලෙම දටස් ගාලා යන්නේ ආන්සර් එකට. ඒක කරන්න එපා. ආන්සර් එකට බේස් වෙච්ච ආගියුමන්ට් එක මොකක්ද? මෙන්න මේ ආගියුමන්ට් එක නිසා තමයි මට මේක කරන්න පුළුවන්. එහෙම අන්ඩර්ස්ටෑන්ඩ් එක ගන්න බලන්න. එතකොට ආර ක්ලියර් වෙයි. එතකොට ආර මේ වගේ ක්වෙස්චන් එකක් මොන විදිහකින් දුන්නත් හදන්න පුළුවන්. වරදින්නේ නැහැ ජීවිතේ. අන්න ඒක හදාගන්න ඕනේ. මොකද ෆිසික්ස් වල අල්ලගන්න පාර්ට් එක වෙන්නේ. හරි. Your answer is correct. You have to subject is it. When your subject is it, Z is equal F over M, no? F over M. But to do that one, to do that subjecting part, there should be an argument. Okay? What would be the argument? What would be the argument? Now there are only 8 arguments. Now you are given that one was mentioned in our previous discussion. What would be the argument? The argument means you know the second argument. All the terms in an equation should have same dimension. So based on that argument, now there are 2 terms. The first one is F, other one is M is Z. Therefore, dimension of F should be equal to the dimension of M is Z. Okay, therefore, dimension, all the terms should have same dimension. All the terms in an equation should have same dimension. That is the argument. The based on that argument, dimension of F is equal dimension of M into dimension of Z. Now you can subject the dimension of Z. Now you can subject the dimension of Z. The dimension of Z is equal dimension of F over dimension of M. Is that clear, Data? Thank you.
Yes, sir.
So dimension of M is, so dimension of F means that is was MLT minus 2. Make a mass done M put it. Therefore MT will be cancelled out. Therefore dimension of Z is equal LT minus 2. Thank you much. මෙතන දාගන්න. රිසන් එක දාගන්න. You have to mention the reason. All the terms in an equation should have same dimension. You have to mention the argument, but that is not for your exam. But this is for your understanding. The second thing is E equal ZGH. E means it is an energy. G means gravitational acceleration. H means height. Right. Then again, you can use the first argument. All the terms in an equation should have same dimension. Based on that argument, you can write the dimension of E is equal dimension of Z into dimension of G in dimension of H. Therefore, dimension of Z now it can be subjected dimension of E, dimension of G, dimension of H. Energy का dimension का मतलब देने ml squared t minus 2 ml squared t minus 2. G means acceleration means lt minus 2. H means another L. Therefore, L minus 2 cancel out. L2 L2 cancel out. Therefore, dimension of Z is equal to that. පැහැදිලි දෙක තේරුණාද?
Oh, sir.
Third one. F equal G M1 M2 over R square. You have determined the dimension of G. Again, the same argument. Dimension of F is equal dimension of G, dimension of M1, M2 over dimension of R square. Then you can subtract dimension of G. You can subtract dimension of G. That is equal dimension of F into dimension of R squared over dimension of M1 into dimension of M2. Okay, you know F means force, it is a force with therefore the dimension is M L T minus 2. R squared means it is a length therefore R squared means L squared over M means that is a mass into mass means M squared, W squared. Therefore answer is M minus 1 metallic L cube T minus 2. T minus 2. මෙතන minus 1 තියෙන නිසා මුලින්ම අපිට L3 මුලින් ගන්න පුළුවන් ඒක උලක් නෑ ඒ ප්‍රශ්න නෑ. L3 M minus 1 T minus 2. Is that correct? මේක අවද?
ඔව් සර්.
ඊළඟට fourth up. S equal U is a plus half A square. You need to determine the dimension of Z. Dimension of Z. In this case, you are given S is a distance. S is a distance, no? S is a distance. Then U is a velocity, A is acceleration, T is a time. Now tell me how to determine the dimension of Z. What would be your argument? The fourth question. So up to the third question, the argument was same one. And now there's a little bit different. What would be the argument that can be utilized to solve this question?
The first one.
First one. Yeah. You can use that one also. Okay. Because addition or subtraction can be done among two same physical quantities. And we can use the same argument. All the terms in an equation should have same dimension. We can use the same. So based on that argument, dimension of S should be equal dimension of U is it? And dimension of S should be equal dimension of U is it? Because all the terms in an equation should have same dimension. Now this is a term, this one is a term, this is a term, this is a term. Therefore, dimension of S should be equal dimension of U is it? Is that clear?
Yes.
Therefore, dimension of Z is equal dimension of S over dimension of U. Dimension of S means that is a distance with S, therefore L. Then dimension of U means that is a velocity, therefore LT minus 1. L12 will be cancelled out, therefore dimension of Z is equal T. There is a type.
Yes sir.
Then the fifth part. මේක දාගන්න හැබැයි. මේ අනිවාර්යෙන් දාගන්න මේ මොකද්ද? ආගියුමන්ට් එක මොකද්ද කියලා දාගන්න. ආගියුමන්ට් එක අනිවාර්යෙන් දාගන්න. මේ හැම එකේම ආගියුමන්ට් එක දාගන්න. The same argument. You have to mention the argument. The argument is same. Fifth one. V equal y plus 80. V equal y plus 80. V is a velocity, y to be determined, A is acceleration, T is a time. Now tell me, what would be the argument that can be used to determine this question? මොකක්ද දාගෙන argument?
Same one.
Yes, very good. Put the same one. All the terms in an equation should have same dimension. Based on that, dimension of y is equal dimension of v. Ne? Simple thing. Dimension of v is equal dimension of y. You have to mention the argument here. අනිවාර්යයෙන් argument එක දාගන්න. Argument එක දාගන්න මොකද ලියන්නේ නැහැ. ඉන්න නිසා. Argument එක දාගන්න. Therefore, dimension of y should be a dimension of velocity. It means velocity. Therefore, it should be equal to LT minus 1. LT minus 1. ಹೇಗೆ ಮಾಡೋದು? ಪಹದಲಿದೆ.
Yes sir.
In every question, you have to mention the argument. Okay? You have to mention that. That is for your understanding and practice, right? Okay. The sixth one, v square is equal u square plus 2a. Is it 2a is it? 2a is it? Now you need to determine is it? Harry. Now tell me what would be the argument. Is it argument?
All terms should have same dimension.
Yes. All should in an equation. You have to mention the entire argument. All the terms in an equation should have same dimension. Based on that one, 2 means it is a number. 2 means it is a number, therefore dimension of a number is equal to 1. Oh, that means no dimension. Therefore, dimension of A is 8 should be equal dimension of u square. So what is the reason? All the terms in an equation should have same dimension. All the terms in an equation should have same dimension. So based on that one, I can simplify this one. A means acceleration, therefore Z, dimension of Z is equal dimension of u square over dimension of acceleration. U square means with a LT into 2 with a, therefore L square T minus 2 here divided by acceleration is L T minus 2. T minus 2 to T minus 2 will be cancelled out, 1 and 2 will be cancelled out. Therefore, dimension of Z is equal L. Dimension of Z is equal. Then,
Yes, sir.
Then the seventh one. Seventh one. Well, seventh one is same argument with it. Okay, ninth one. Ninth and 10th one. E equal half LV1. You need to determine the dimension of y. What is the dimension of y? What would be the argument? Tag again.
All terms in an equation should have same dimension.
Based on that argument, how could you determine the dimension of y? How to determine? Here
In
M
is a
P
number.
Y
Because index is a number, therefore no dimension.
Yeah, that is another rule, Nipute. Therefore, that is not equal to the first rule. You know now y is an index. Y is an index. Index is a number. Therefore, it has no dimension. That should be the argument. That should be the argument. What is the argument? Index has no dimension as it is a number. As it is a number. As it is a number. Now, but we can write that argument. Index has no dimensions. Index has no dimension. So you can use that argument. If you use that argument, you know y is a dimension. Therefore, dimension of y is should be equal to 1. It doesn't have a dimension, therefore, or you can write no dimension. Clear? පැහැදිලිද?
Yeah.
Okay, with it. Then go to the question number 10. Question number 10. The same equation. Now there are two unknown factors. MB, U is it. U is it. U is it. Here you are given, this is an energy, then this is a mass, velocity, U also a velocity. Is it? You have interpreted it. Now tell me what would be the argument? What would be the argument? What would be the argument to determine the dimension of Vc? Everything?
Index is a number, therefore no dimension.
Yes, therefore you can use now remember now index means it is not Z only. Index means the entire expression you said. You said. Therefore, dimension of U is a dimension of U is a should be equal to 1 because index has no dimension. That is the argument. Index has no dimension as it is a number. As it is a number. Index has no dimension as it is a number. Therefore, now the index means that is the entire expression. Entire expression means U we said that is equal to 1. Therefore, dimension of U means dimension of U into dimension of Z is equal 1. That means dimension of Z means 1 over dimension of U. 1 over dimension of U. You can subject. So dimension of Z is equal 1 over U. Dimension of U means that is a velocity. Therefore, dimension of a velocity is equal LT minus 1. Therefore, dimension of U means LT minus 1. Therefore, dimension of Z is equal. You can take into the numerator. Therefore, answer is T L minus 1. Is that clear? Pahal?
Yes, sir.
Then the 11th one. The 11th one. Okay, have you done the 11th one? Eleventh, 12th one. 11th and 12th. Have done.
I did the 11th one, sir. For the 12th one, don't know about stress.
PV pressure. PV pressure. Okay. Can you try it now? Can you try it now? 11th and 12th.
Okay.
11th and 12th. Using this argument. Look at this one. Using this argument, you can try the question number 11 and 12. 11 and 12. Question number 11, 12, as well as 13. 11, 12, 13. Okay, you can go up to 14. 11, 12, 13, 14. 11, 12, 13, 14. All are based on the same theory part. Same theory part, therefore, no need to worry about the argument. 11, 12, 13, and 14. Okay, shall we look into question number 11, 12, 13, and 14? Question number 11. Sometimes we need to use more than one argument. Okay? V square is equal U my plus z. My plus z means it is an index. It is an index plus 2a's. You need to determine the dimension of z and y. Z and y. N is a mass. N is a mass. And you know the first argument. You know the entire expression. The entire expression is an index. The entire expression. That means my plus z. The entire expression is an index. Therefore, my plus z is an index. Index means it is a number. Therefore, dimension of the entire expression should be a number. Or index, that is a number. You know, here you can determine the dimension of z at once. But my plus z is a number. My plus z means a number. Now this is an equation. My plus z is equal a number. And you know, according to the second argument, all the terms in an equation should have same dimension. Therefore, actually, this is based on the first one. And actually, this is actually, I did not use any argument for this one. This is an index. Therefore, I have written my plus z is an index. Index is a number. Then I can use the second argument. What is the second argument? All the terms in an equation should have same dimension. All the terms in an equation should have same dimension. Because if I use that one, I can determine the dimension of Z very easily. Because you know this is a number, therefore Z should also a number. Now there are three terms with it. Now there are only three terms. This is the first term. This is the term 1. This is term 2. Here, this is the term 3. Therefore, you know this is a number. Therefore, Z should also a number. My should also a number. Did you get my argument? My argument එක තේරුණාද? All the terms in an equation should have same dimension. That means they should be same physical quantities. Now you know this is a number. Therefore, this part also a number. This part also a number. Is that clear? Did you get my argument?
Yes, sir.
Therefore, it is very clear, Puti. My dimension of My is equal dimension of Z, and that is equal dimension of number. The reason is all the terms in an equation should have same dimension. That is the argument. That is the argument. What is the argument? All the terms in an equation should have same dimension. So accordingly, dimension of Z is equal to a number. Dimension of number. Therefore, dimension of Z is a number. Number means it should be 1. Or it doesn't have it has no dimension. Then dimension of my product. Dimension of my product is equal to number. Therefore, dimension of M into dimension of phi is equal to dimension of number, that is 1 put in. Therefore, dimension of y is equal 1 over dimension of M. 1 over dimension of 1 over M is 1 over capital M put in. That means M minus 1. Actually, in this question, I did not use the argument relevant to the index. Index එක සම්බන්ධව කිසිම argument එකක් මම use කරේ නෑ පුතේ. So here I have used only the second argument. What is that argument? All the terms in an equation should have same dimension. Because once you determine this expression as the index, this expression will be an index, that means a number. Then you will convert this one into an equation. Now using this equation, you can determine the dimension of Z and තේරිය පැහැදිලි දෙයක්. තේරුණා?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. දාගන්න පුළුවන් නෝට් ඩවුන් කරගන්න පුළුවන්. Third question. V square. U Z over S. But 12th question, the expression is equal to V squared is equal U to the power U is a over S plus Py. That is the entire index. That is the entire index for this part. This part is the index plus 2x. Therefore, U is a over S plus Py is equal to index. That means that is a number. This number. Again, you can solve that one as in 11 pute. Therefore, Py, now you know all the terms in this equation should have same dimension. Accordingly, this part should be a number, this part should be a number. So this is the first term, this is the second term, this is the third term. Okay? Therefore, all the terms in this equation should have same dimension. All the terms in an equation should have same dimension. Accordingly, Py should be a number, U Z over S should be a number. Therefore, accordingly, Py should be number within and U Z over S that also a number. Therefore, dimension of these two terms should be equal to 1. Should be equal to 1. Then I can take dimension of y is equal 1 over dimension of p. P means pressure, put pressure. Therefore, M. Pressure means ml minus 1 T minus 2. Therefore, dimension of y is equal, we have put again m minus 1 L T plus 2. T plus 2. Then, here, dimension of u is a dimension of z or dimension of s. That is equal to 1 put it. Then you get subject dimension of z. If you subject dimension of z, that is equal dimension of s over dimension of u. Dimension of s means there is a length or distance with the length. U means there is a velocity, LT minus 1. Here to here will be cancelled out. Therefore, dimension of z is a time. Is a time. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. There's a 13th one. Y is equal e to the power omega t. E to the power omega t. You need to determine the dimension of omega. Omega means angular displacement, angular velocity. But it is very easy. Now, this is the index. Now, this term is the index. Omega t is the index. Omega t is the index. Therefore, it is a number. Omega t is a number. Therefore, dimension of omega t is equal dimension of number. That means that is 1. Therefore, dimension of omega means 1 over dimension of t. 1 over dimension of t. That means 1 over t, 1 over capital T, thus is t minus 1. T minus 1. Therefore, dimension of omega is equal t minus 1. That is the answer for question number 30. Is that clear?
Yes.
14. The velocity v of freely falling object in a resistance medium at any time, simple t, is given by this one is v means velocity. Question number 40. V is equal a over v into 1 minus e to the power bt. E to the power bt. Dimension of a and b. Okay. Here, you know this part should be a number. This part should be a number. Ne? It should be a number. Why? What is the reason? Now it is very clear. It is very clear. E to the power bt. E to the power bt. E to the power bt is connected with the number through a addition, through a subtraction, through a subtraction. Therefore, 1 minus e to the power bt. That means this is a number. Therefore, that also a number. Therefore, this entire term, that means 1 minus e to the power bt, that entire term should be a number. You have to understand that thing. Therefore, this entire term should be a number. That is number 1. Then you know e to the power bt, e to the power bt, then bt means that is the index. That is index. Bt means that is index. Index means that is a number. Therefore, if you take the dimension, dimension of b into dimension of t is equal dimension of number. Dimension of number is what? Therefore, dimension of b is equal 1 over dimension of t. 1 over dimension of t. Therefore, that is 1 over capital T. Therefore, dimension of b is t minus 1. Alright. Then I know this one is t minus 1 and this doesn't have a dimension. There is 1. Then here a. Now you know this term should be equal to v. Therefore, dimension of v should be equal dimension of a over dimension of b into dimension of 1 minus e to the power bt. You know that, as I mentioned you earlier, this part is a number. This part is a number. This entire part is a number. As it is a number, the dimension should be equal to 1. Therefore, dimension should be equal to 1. Dimension should be equal to 1. Therefore, the dimension of this part is equal to 1. Dimension of v means LT minus 1 is equal dimension of A. Here B means dimension of t minus 1. Therefore, you can cross multiply here with it. Therefore, dimension of A is equal LT minus 2. LT minus 2.
Yes, sir.
No doubt. Then, question number 15. But question number 15. 15. Log base 10. Ax equal 1. You need to determine the dimension of A. Dimension of A. Dimension of A. X means displacement. You know, now we can determine, we can use the logarithm argument with it. So now this is a logarithm function. So inside this function, there should be a number. Therefore, this entire expression, the entire expression inside a logarithm function is a number. Therefore, Ax should be a number. Ax should be a number. Therefore, the entire expression inside a logarithm function should be a number. Based on that argument, we can build a relationship with it. Ax should be a number. The inside expression in a logarithm function is a number. The inside expression in a log function is a number. Therefore, Ax is a number. Then I can build a dimensional argument with it. Therefore, dimension of A into dimension of X is equal dimension of number. So that is 1. Therefore, dimension of A is equal 1 over dimension of X. That means 1 over F. X means displacement. Therefore, A means L to the power minus 1. L to the power minus 1. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Then, please do the question number 16, 17, 16, 17, and 18. Tag again, 16, 18, and 16, 17, 18. Question number 16, 17, and 18. Okay, question number 16. AV plus VU squared is equal what? V and U means that is those are velocities. Now it is very clear. The inside expression of a logarithm function is a number. The inside expression of a logarithm function is a number. Based on that argument, I can write AV plus VU squared is equal to number. The argument means the inside expression in a logarithm function is a number. The argument should be written. The inside expression in a log function is a number. So that is a argument. That is argument. So based on this argument, the inside expression means AV plus BU squared is a number. Then I can use the second argument, that is, there is each and every term in an equation should have same dimension. So based on that, dimension of AV is equal to dimension of BU squared, and they both are equal to dimension of number. Therefore, dimension of AV should be equal to dimension of BU squared is equal to dimension of a number. So the argument is all the terms in an equation should have same dimension. ඔක්කොම දාන්න ඕනි. නිකන් එහෙම ලියන්න එපා. මම කියන්නේ මේක ලියන්න කියලා එක්සෑම් එකට මේක ඕනේ නැහැ. හැබැයි පාලා මේක ලියන්න ඔයා දන්නවා ආගියුමන්ට් එක බිල්ඩ් කරන්න ඕනි විදිහ. ඒක ඇඟට එනවා. ඒ නිසා අනිවාර්යෙන් මේක දැනට ලියලා හුරු වෙන්න. එතකොට අනිවාර්යෙන් ආගියුමන්ට් එක කොහොමද එන්නේ කියලා ඇඟට එනවා. All the terms in an equation should have same dimension. There is argument. Therefore, AV product should be equal to number. Number means dimension of number is equal to 1 putty. Therefore, dimension of A into dimension of B should be equal to 1. Therefore, dimension of A is equal 1 over dimension of B putty. You can subject A. And then you can apply dimension of B, LT minus 1. Therefore, dimension of A is equal L minus 1 T. L minus 1 T, you have to take this into the numerator, then their index will be minus 1. A. Then the B. Again, dimension of B in dimension of U square is equal 1. The reason is this one, the same reason. Then the dimension of B is equal 1 over dimension of U square. Therefore, this is equal 1 over L square T minus 2. L square T minus 2 where is square? L square T minus 2. Therefore, dimension of B is equal L minus 2 T plus 2. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Alright. May I answer Saadu?
Oh, sir.
Oh, good, very good. Okay, then the 11th, sorry, 17th one. 17th one. Okay, shall I resist?
Okay, sir.
A plus VP over. Oh. Okay, now there's another function here that also another function. You need to determine the dimensions of A and B. P is a pressure, V is a velocity. Then, what about here? Tell me the dimension of what? You have to determine the dimension of Y also. What is the dimension of Y? What is the dimension of Y?
1.
Yes, very good. What is the reason? What is the reason?
Because when there is log function inside that has no dimension, so y has no dimension.
Actually, this may not about inside function, Pute. Because y is equal to entire log function, no? Not the inside function. No? Y is equal to the entire log function, not into the inside one. You know, if you consider the entire log function, it also number. It also number. One minute. 2 to the power 10. නැත්නම් ගන්න ගන්න දෙන්න. 10 to the power 2 here, 100. Now convert this into a number, log function. Log base 10, 100 is equal to, is that clear?
Yes.
Now it is very clear, the entire log function is equal to the index. Is equal to the index. The entire log function is equal to the index. So you know index means it is a number. Therefore, definitely, if you may compare about, if you consider about the entire log function, it is equal to the index. Is that clear?
Yes.
Yeah, this is a number. The entire log function is a number. ඒක මම කියනවා මොකක්ද අර එක සබ් මේ රූල් එකක් තියෙනවා කියලා. That is the entire log function. The entire log function is equal to the index. Index is number. Therefore, entire log function is a number. So due to this reason, 10 to the power 2 is equal to 100. So if you convert this into log function, log base 10, 100 is equal to, therefore this is this index. Therefore, the entire log function, this entire log function is equal to the index. That means a number. Therefore, entire log function is a number. So, therefore, if you consider this entire log function, there is a number. So, due to this reason, dimension of y should be equal to 1. Dimension of y should be equal to 1, or it has no dimension. It has no dimension. No dimension. No dimension. Because it is a number. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Now we can go to the go to find a and b, Pute. A and b. Now it is very clear. The inside function also a number. Inside function, that means a plus bp over b, that also a number. Therefore, if we consider about the dimension of each and every terms in this equation should have should be equal with it. Therefore, dimension of A is equal dimension of BP over V, that is equal to number. Now this one. Therefore, dimension of A definitely equal to 1. Dimension of A is equal to 1 or no dimension. Then dimension of BP over V, that also equal to 1 with it. Therefore, dimension of V into dimension of P over dimension of B, that is equal to 1. Therefore, dimension of B is equal dimension of velocity over dimension of pressure. Dimension of velocity means L T minus 1. Dimension of pressure means M L minus 1 T minus 2. මේ කොට ගෙනියන්න m minus 1 වෙනවා. මෙතන L to the power 2. Here t to the power 1. So that is the dimension of B. Is that clear? Hey, Ronald.
Yes, sir.
Right. Okay, I am going to determine dimension of A and B in 17th question, 18th question. Dimension of A should be 1 put A. Sorry, not 1. It is a square of it. L minus 1. L minus 1 means L minus half. Ne? L to the power minus half. How?
Oh, sir.
Right. Here dimension of B is equal to T minus 1, no? T to the
Yes.
power. Huh? Now, go to the question number 19, 20, 21, 22. 19, 20, 21, 22. Tag that. Okay. 19th one. S equal A sin BT. Ne? That's all. A sin BT. Right. You need to determine dimension of A and B. S is a displacement. Okay. So how to determine A? How are they? How to determine A? Look at this one. You know this part, sin BT part. It is a trigonometric function, no? Trigonometric function has no dimension. We have mentioned that thing, but it doesn't have a dimension, because it is a ratio between two length. Sin theta means it is equal to the opposite side over adjacent side. That means it is a ratio between two lengths. Therefore, any trigonometric function does not have a dimension. It has a dimension. And therefore, the dimension of this part is 1 because it is a trigonometric function. Therefore, dimension of sin BT is equal 1 to the reason is as it is a trigonometric function. As it is a trigonometric function. You know, any trigonometric function, if you consider about any trigonometric function, sin theta, cos theta, tan theta, anyone, any trigonometric function is a ratio between two lengths. Sin theta means opposite side over adjacent hypotenuse. Cos theta means adjacent side over hypotenuse. Tan theta means opposite side over adjacent side. Therefore, if you consider about the dimension, you have to divide a length over length, a length over length, length over length. That means that is equal to 1. Due to this reason, any trigonometric function has no dimension. Therefore, this is equal to 1. Therefore, dimension of S equal dimension of A into dimension of sin BT puthe. You know that now this one is equal to 1. Therefore, dimension of A is equal to dimension of S. Therefore, dimension of A equal dimension of S. That means that. There.
Oh, sir.
Okay. Now we can determine B. How to determine B? All be heard. What can you say about BT? What can you say about BT? BT? BT can මොකක්ද?
1.
Yeah, 1. What is the BT? What is the physical quantity of BT? BT? BT කියන්නේ මොකක්ද? Inside the trigonometric function, there should be which physical quantity? Trigonometric function එකක් ඇතුළේ කවුද ඉන්නේ? Angle. Therefore, BT product is an angle, Puti. Is an angle. Angle hasn't a dimension, Puti. An angle hasn't a dimension. Therefore, dimension of BT is equal dimension of angle, and that is equal to. Therefore, dimension of B is equal 1 over dimension of T. Therefore, dimension of B is equal 1 over capital T. That means the answer is T to the power minus 1. තේරුණාද argument එක? පැහැදිලිද? මේ argument එක විලා ගන්න.
Okay, sir.
Did you get my point, Puti? තේරුණාද?
Oh, sir.
Then next one. Y equal a sine square root k over b into t. Multiplication y equal a into sine square root k over b into t. T is outside to the square root. Okay? Here, k is the spin constant. So, what is the spin constant? Do you know that one? The spin constant?
No, sir.
Okay. Today, suppose there's a spin. Now there's a spin. And so this is the initial length of the spin today. So if we apply a force into the spin, what will happen? Once you apply a force on a spin today, what will happen? It will elongate. It will elongate. Suppose now this one will elongate. By existence. Today, this elongation depends on, actually, suppose if you apply a force, and you will measure the elongation. Actually, this elongation varies according to the spin to spin, the material of the spin. It depends on the material of the spin. And sometimes actually you may have this experience with it. Suppose there are some, if you consider about very small spring, it is very easy to elongate, no? Unji spring again, less elongate. But can you elongate a spring? Can you elongate a spring which is in a shock absorber? If you අපි වාහනයක තියෙන shock absorber එකේ තියෙන spin එක ඔයාලට elongate කරන්න පුළුවන් නම් චූටි spin එක මොකද අපි අර toy එක වගේ තියෙන spin එකක් ගන්න. toy එක වගේ තියෙන spin එකක් ඔයාලට බොහොම ලේසියෙන් එහා මෙහා කරන්න පුළුවන්. හැබැයි ඔයාලට පුළුවන්ද shock absorber එක වගේ තියෙන spin එකක් එහා මෙහා කරන්න? ලේසි නෑ නේද? Therefore, this elongation depends on the material of the spin. Material to material, it can be changed. And therefore, it is very clear, this elongation varies with the force. If we apply a high force, we can have a longer elongation. If we exert a small force, we will have only a very small elongation. Therefore, its elongation depends on the force as well as the material. Therefore, combining all of those all of these parameters, that's the equation F is equal Kx. F is equal Kx. F means applied force. Here the spin constant. Here the elongation. elongation. So that is a relationship between force and spring constant and the displacement. Force, the spring constant, and the displacement. And then you can determine the dimension of the spring constant. Therefore, dimension of force is equal dimension of K into dimension of X to K. Therefore, dimension of K is equal dimension of F over dimension of X. X means elongation. Now you can determine the dimension of K. Once you determine the dimension of K, after that you can solve this question. එහෙනම් ටක් ගාලා මේක determine කරලා question එක ටක් ගාලා එයාට පහක් දෙන්න. ටක් ගාලා. Okay. Have it.
Okay.
Now, the force is ml t minus ml t minus 2. Here L put A. L2 will be cancelled out. Therefore, dimension of K is m t minus 2. M t minus 2. M t minus 2. Then, now it is very clear the dimension of this part is equal to 1. No? Because there is a trigonometric function. And therefore, dimension of y should be equal to dimension of A. We can write this one. Dimension of y is equal dimension of A into dimension of sine square root K over B into D. So as this is a trigonometric function, this part is equal 1 because it is a trigonometric function. Big function. So dimension of A is equal dimension of y put A. Dimension of y means it is a length. Displacement. Therefore, R is A. Dimension of A is L. Then, you know, this inside expression should be an angle. Because when it comes to a trigonometry function, the inside expression should be an angle. Therefore, the square root A over B into T is an angle. Therefore, if you take the dimension of both sides, dimension of K over B into dimension of T is equal. Then I can take the square of both sides. Therefore, K over B dimension into T squared is equal to 1. Therefore, dimension of B, dimension of B is equal, or make a paper again, is equal dimension of K into dimension of T square. Dimension of K into dimension of T square. Dimension of K means MT minus 2. MT minus 2. Then dimension of T square means capital T square. Therefore, T minus 2 to 3 plus 2 will be cancelled out. Therefore, dimension of B is equal N to M. M. Dimension of B is equal M. Is that clear? Hey, Ron?
Oh, sir.
Lagan.
Okay, sir.
Good. 21st question. Hmm. 21st question. V equal A omega cos BT. Omega is the angular velocity. B and D is V. That's it. Make another.
Nah, sir.
What is the dimension of omega? Angular velocity. Angular velocity, omega, angular velocity putih. Angular velocity means it is something like this. Suppose an object rotates about a circular path or rotation. Now, this is circular path putih. The object rotates in this circular path. Initially, it was at this position. So after simple t time, it is at this position. Therefore, the amount of rotation can be determined using this angle. Therefore, we call this angle as angular displacement. Angular displacement. So this is the change in position. This is the change in position measured using the angle, using the angular displacement. Therefore, we call this one theta as angular displacement. Because using this theta value, I can express the change in the position, as well as the direction of this object. Therefore, theta means angular displacement. Angular velocity means that angular displacement over time taken is equal to angular velocity. Angular velocity is equal to angular displacement over time taken to the. මොනවද spring constant එක මේ angular displacement ඇයි මේ අපිට first lesson එකේ දෙන්නේ කියලා මොකද තව අපි ඒවා කරලා නැහැ. අද ඇත්තටම angular displacement, spring constant, ඊට පස්සේ angular velocities, those are in the second units පුතේ. But when you are given a question in unit 1, it is based on the entire syllabus. And again, the syllabus එකම කවුරුද තමයි first lesson එකේ questions හදන්නේ. ඒ නිසා ඒ මුළු syllabus එකටම අදාළ physical quantities ගැන පුංචි දේවල් අපි දැනගන්න ඕනේ. හරි. ඒ නිසා තාම අපි කරේ නැහැ කියන එක excuse එකක් නැහැ. මේ වගේ questions ආවට පස්සේ අපි ඒකෙන් එන informations අරගෙන මතක තියාගෙන ඉන්න දැන්. පස්සේ ඉතින් angular displacement, angular velocities, spring constants ගැන කතා කරනකොට පස්සේ මේ තමයි මේ අරදා කිව්වේ කියලා ඔළුවට ගන්න. හරි. But until then, you have to remember. Then angular velocity normally we represent it as omega. Omega. This is omega. Omega is equal angular displacement theta over time. Therefore, dimension of omega is equal dimension of theta is equal over dimension of time. You know, angular displacement means angle. Therefore, theta means angle. Therefore, dimension of theta is equal to 1. It has no dimension. Therefore, this one should be equal to 1 because this is an angle. And time taken is capital T. Therefore, this is T. So, then the dimension of angular velocity is equal T minus 1. T minus 1. T minus 1. But remember one thing, although the angles have not dimension, okay, they have a unit, radian. It has a unit පුතේ. angles ගත්තොත් මේ angles වල dimensions නැති වුණාට unit එකක් තියෙනවා radian කියලා. ඒක හොඳට මතක තියාගන්න. ඒක විශේෂයක්. angles විතරක් තියෙන විශේෂයක් ඒක. හරිද? ඒ නිසා මෙයාව මනින unit එක ගත්තොත් this is a radian, this is time. Therefore, unit is equal radian per second. Unit. Unit of omega. Unit of omega means unit of theta. Unit of theta means radian. Theta is measured by radian. Then unit of time. Unit of time is measured by seconds. Therefore, unit of omega is equal radian per second. Therefore, you cannot write the unit using the dimensions only. You have to remember there are some physical quantities, they do not have dimensions, but sometimes they have units put it, especially angles. Angles only dimensions that do not units තියෙනවා. ඒ නිසා මේ unit එක දිහා විතරක් බලාගෙන මෙයාගේ dimension එක විතරක් දිහා බලාගෙන unit එක ලියන්න බෑ. හරි. ඊළඟ unit එක දිහා බලාගෙන dimension ලියන්නත් බෑ. ඒක වරද්ද ගන්න පුළුවන්. හරි. Therefore, the dimension of omega is T minus 1. The unit is radian per second. Radian per second. This is a special case. Huh? Now I can go for this one. Now you know this term BT. BT is an angle. BT is an angle. Therefore, it has a dimension. Therefore, BT product is an angle. Therefore, dimension of B into dimension of T is equal dimension of angle, and that is equal to 1. That is equal to 1. Is that clear?
Oh, sir.
Then, therefore, dimension of B is equal 1 over dimension of time. Therefore, 1 over T. Therefore, answer is T minus 1. Therefore, dimension of B is equal to T minus 1. Then, you know dimension of B is equal dimension of A into dimension of omega and dimension of cos. You know cos BT is a trigonometric function. As this is a trigonometric function, this value is equal to 1. And you know dimension of omega is equal to T minus 1. Therefore, this value is equal to T minus 1. And this is a velocity. Velocity is equal LT minus 1. Therefore, again I can write it as L T minus 1 is equal dimension of A into T minus 1 into 1. T minus 1 to T minus 1 will be cancelled out. Therefore, A dimension of A is equal to is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Write down this thing. Cut the line. Question number 22. E is equal half m omega square A square sine omega square. So sine square BT plus C. Right. Now this is an energy puthe, mass, angular velocity, T is a time. Those are the given data. Sorry, energy, mass, angular velocity, and time. Now it is easy to determine this thing, these two parts. You can determine these two parts very easy. Okay? Why? What is the reason? What is the argument? What is the argument to be behind that one? You can determine B and C very easily. What is the argument behind the determination of B and C?
They are angles.
They are angle means what are angles? What do you mean about they? Okay. The angle means the entire expression is an angle. Did you get my point? Sine, this is theta. The entire expression is an angle. You cannot say B is an angle, C is an angle. You cannot say like this one. You can say the entire expression is an angle. Entire expression, that means B to BT plus C, that is an angle. Once you determine this equation, now this is an equation. So as it is an equation, all the terms in this equation should have same dimension. All the terms in this equation should have same dimension. According to that argument, the first you have to determine this one is an angle. Once you determine this one is an angle, then you have to use the second argument. What is the second argument? All the terms in an equation should have same dimension. Based on that argument, C should also an angle. BT product should also an angle. Is that clear?
Oh, sir.
Therefore, after writing this one, then I can write all the terms in an equation should have same dimension. So based on that argument, C is an angle. C is an angle. BT product also angle. BT product also angle. Therefore, angle has a dimension put it. Therefore, dimension of C is equal 1 or no dimension. Is that clear? Then
Oh, sir.
then dimension of B into dimension of T is equal dimension of angle. That means 1. Therefore, dimension of B is equal 1 over dimension of T. Dimension of T means capital T, capital T. Therefore, 1 over capital T. Therefore, dimension of B is equal T minus 1, T minus 1. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, I can move into the entire part. You know, as this is a trigonometric function, that part has no dimension. Is that clear? This part has no dimension, the entire part has no dimension. Therefore, dimension of E should be equal to this one. And never done. Therefore, dimension of E is equal half dimension of M into dimension of omega square, dimension of A square, dimension of sine square, BT plus C. All the dimension formula. So once you write the dimensional formula, you can assign the dimension. This part is 1 to K because it doesn't have a dimension. It is a trigonometric function. Here, dimension is capital M. Here dimension is t minus 1. T minus 1 is square කරන්න කීයද? T minus 2. T minus 2. I don't know what is dimension. Dimension of energy is equal m L squared T minus 2. You should remember this one. ඒ වගේ අපිට තියෙන්න ඕන energy එක. M L squared T minus 2. Then I can write M L squared T minus 2 is equal here M, here T minus 2, then A to the power 2. T minus 2 to T minus 2 will be cancelled out, M to M will be cancelled out. Therefore, L squared is equal dimension of A square. That means dimension of A is equal to L. Dimension of A is equal L. Area.
Oh, sir.
Therefore, those are the answers for essay type questions. Then you have to complete the MCQ paper. MCQ. There are 110 MCQs. 110 MCQs. So complete those MCQs today. Then we can go to the EQR. EQR means exam questions reviewing part today. So once you complete those questions and once we review all the questions in our tute, then you can go to the exam questions today. Once you complete the exam questions, that means you are done with all. Okay, because first thing you have to do some example questions, then you have to go to the tute pute. Once you do this tute, then you can completely understand about the theory parts. So you have to do this tute. Actually, there are 110 MCQs today. Therefore, definitely you have to do these tutes and send your answers to me. Please send your answers to me once after completion of this class today. Please send your answer sheets to me, and especially in today's essay questions. Then, if you did some MCQ questions, then please send that answers to me, and I have to check that one. And remember, there are 40 physical quantities in this tute. In this tute, at the beginning, there are 40 physical quantities. You have to determine the dimension of them. Okay. So sometimes you will need that knowledge. Sometimes there may be some questions that require that knowledge. Therefore, please do that part too. Okay. Then we can complete today's lesson today.